Hello and welcome to Hobby Vlog number 58. This week I've spent a lot of time editing so that I can clear my decks for Christmas so I don't have to be editing videos to put out on the Tuesdays, though of course I will still be doing videos on Sundays and editing like I will be doing just in a short while. By the time you watch this, you will have already missed my first live stream of Sunday. I'm live streaming with Harry from the GBHL. He's doing a sponsored 24-hour stream and I have the great pleasure of joining him for an hour at 7 AM UK time. But you'll have missed it, however, so sorry about that. However, you will not have missed my live stream with Travis on Tabletop CP, so don't miss that. Jump down back onto this channel at 8 PM tonight. That's 8 PM my time, 6 PM UK time, 10 AM California time. Time zones blow my mind. And join us as we do a little bit of winterized terrain and chat about the hobby and about each other and just have a bit of a giggle. So yeah, please come and join us. It would be wonderful to see you. I'll stop rambling now. I hope that you enjoy the video and you'll see that I've finished some projects and started some new ones. I just can't help myself. And please don't forget to subscribe as well and ding that bell, and I'll see you again at the end. Enjoy the video. It's time to start another little project. This one is another encounter terrain challenge. It's the December one, and the subject here is For Honor and Glory. I think I've got that right. It's something around that. It's that idea anyway. This being the end of the year, the final one for 2020, Joe has decided to make it a 20 by 20 challenge. However, I really enjoy the fact that it's 10 by 10. It makes it a far more difficult challenge in my eyes, and yeah, so when he announced it was going to be 20 by 20, I immediately thought if the theme allows for it, I would like to do 4 10 by 10s that all combine together. So it will go down into one terrain piece of 20 by 20, so it will be within the rules, but it'll be 4 different sections. They'll be separate and they'll be able to join together, whether with clips or with magnets or whatever. So that was the only thing that I thought of. But then once the project was announced, my ideas kind of went away. And unfortunately I wasn't able to think of anything, but then Angela came to my rescue. And so what we've got is, on this bit of paper here, we've got my design of what I'm going to do, and you can see there is my stuff which was put together for the picture that you need to do to launch to give your first whip. He has to show a mask. So up here, top right corner, we're going to have a child sports day. It'll either be a podium or maybe some racing or something like that. It'll be a child sports day. So that'll be a 10 by 10 of a child sports day. Underneath, there'll be a 10 by 10 of a passing out parade or some sort of parade in the army. To the left of it, there'll be a soldier running into battle, and that's what the tea lights and that material is for, because there'll be explosions and what have you. It's going to be as hellish as I can make it look. War is hell. And then at the top, on the left, there'll be a graveyard with mourners. And I believe that there'll be poppies. And what I'm considering to do to tie it all together is somehow have a poppy in the centre. Now, I'm not entirely sure how I'll do that, but I want to give the impression at least of a poppy. I don't want it to be a bright red poppy with a green centre. It's not going to be a garish thing, but maybe I'll just have it so that the terrain that's going to combine in the centre, when you look at it, when you pull it all together, it is a poppy. And that is my idea. So I'm going to start gathering materials. I've ordered all of the miniatures that I need, which will take a long time to get here, obviously, as they always do. And so that's something I'm going to have to wait for. But I may end up just doing some sculpting. So I may actually end up sculpting some of these myself. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes. So I'll bring you along for this journey. I hope that you enjoy it. And yeah, let's see what I can create. Here I am at my remodelled desk, as you can see. Sam from Mythic Games doing an update, and I'm just going to quickly show you that what I've been working on is a little bit on the sails from my Oak and Iron ships, because I really need to get them finished, and I was very, very unhappy. So what I've just done is I've put a light wash of off-white over them all, and I think I'm going to be happier. So hopefully I can finish this project off. And I also wanted to just quickly show off my my new desk with a monitor, which will mean I'll be able to do more live streams and get involved a little bit more on the active community. So there we are. it's time to crack out the old Proxon and get my foam cut. So what I'm going to be doing is making 4 10 by 10 cubes. Actually 10 by 10 by 10 cubes. Because I want to have all these separate, as I've said, and then they will join together somehow, which I'll work out to make it into a full 20 by 20. So I'm going to get that cut now on the Proxon, so I will leave you to watch while I put some music on. What a time to find out that your cutter isn't actually true. I thought I'd put it to straight, but it turns out that I hadn't. So I've just got my 90 degrees out, I've adjusted it slightly, so I'm going to cut it again. But I won't run the camera again because it's just the same thing. But I made some very nice parallelograms there, which I'm not sure what I'll do with, but I won't throw them away because I will surely be able to find something to do with them. But that is a bit frustrating. But hey, life goes on. There you are, they're cut and they're looking really good now. So what we've got is we've got 4 areas, and as I've explained, there's going to be 4 different stages towards glory and honour. So we'll have the top right will be the races, the passing out parade, the battle, and the cemetery. And I bought these for another project. Well, I bought a set of Pricer miniatures for another project, and this is one of them. I think this is going to be absolutely perfect. It's a little bit broken, unfortunately, in the box, but it won't take long to fix that. And that will be just the human counterpoint that that particular little square needs. Just those 2 miniatures. I'm not going to have anything else on there, sealing the rest of it. So the 2 that I can work on right now, because I'm waiting for miniatures for these 2, is the cemetery and the battlefield. I do have some miniatures coming which are going to be specifically for the battlefield, but I don't need to have them they'll be able to be put in wherever I want. So I'll be doing explosions. I'm going to use some tea lights to have them flickering, and it will be a shell blasted landscape, and then I will have men running across it when they arrive. So I can definitely do that, and I could definitely do the cemetery, though I do have a grave and a wreath coming, which will have to go on this, but that can be added in. So probably, funnily enough, even though I've got the miniatures, the one I can do the least of is this one. So not that it really matters which square goes on which, but just in terms of the arrangement I had them there. So I'm going to think first of all and work through first of all getting the terrain in the contours that I want and working on this, which is going to be the battlefield. And my thinking is that on the front I will have a short text. War is hell will probably be on this one, or maybe a quote from Dulce et Decorum Est, which remains one of my favourite poems. My school did something good. But yes, I'll probably put some text on the outer side or on the side of each of these, just so they can, because eventually I will have them in a line rather than being in a square. So yeah, I'll get that done. I'll bring you along for this. I will film everything I do, show you how it goes. I'm struggling with it a bit because it is quite an emotional subject, and Joe is a genius for making things fun, but also making you think. And I'm really thinking in this challenge. I am going to make 2 frozen ponds. I think at least one, which I'm doing now, and another one maybe with another technique if I can be bothered. Ironically enough, I only have red air dry clay because I ran out of all my white air dry clay when I was doing Rosie's train, the Santa's Express. So I'm going to need to do this red and then paint it, but that's fine, doesn't matter. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it out flat, and then I have the frozen green stuff roller, which I want to give a try. So we're going to do that. So let me get it rolled out flat first, and then we'll see just how good that green stuff roller is. So there we are. I've gone for an odd shape because what I'm going to do is, obviously this is going to be a frozen pond. So this is going to be the frozen bit, and once I've rolled this out and it's dry, which is not my usual technique, but once it's dry I will then transfer that over onto a base, build some banks and do the rest of the scenicking. I don't normally do that this way, but I think in this case this is going to be the most efficient way to do it. So what I'm going to do now is have a go with this roller. And there we are. We will now peel that off and we'll put it on some glass so that it doesn't stick, or maybe onto some non-stick paper. And then when it's dry, we'll have a look at it. We'll be able to maybe, we'll cover over any bits that haven't pressed in quite as well. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see how that looks. It's okay, it's not brilliant. It maybe needed to be slightly smaller, which might be something I find, and if it is, then I can always roll over another one, or I might be able to roller one right now. But that's what the the ice roller frozen from Green Stuff World looks like. I might just reduce the quantity of the clay I'm using and make it a little bit smaller so that I can do it in one cut. So let me just do that very, very simply. Take that out, make it flat again, turn it over, get my roller and redo it, and now I'm going to be happy with that. There we are, that's better. So that can be underneath the bank when I make the bank. So I'll let that dry and I'll bring you along for the next step when I get to it. Change of plan. I have just had a look and cannot find any glass that is not outside, and it is late at night and I'm not going out there because it's cold. So what I'm going to do is put it straight onto a base. And the base I'm going to be using is this foam XPS insulation, which I like quite a lot. I can glue this on and then I can clamp it, which I'll show you, to a solid surface to make sure it doesn't warp, and then work on it and then remove it from that solid surface once I'm finished working. So as always, glue down your air dry clay because it's not adhesive. So it will stick to things and it will break when you try and peel it off, but it certainly isn't going to stick to them in such a hard wearing way as it will be useful on the gaming table. So now that's stuck to or sticking to that base, let me grab my other couple of little bits of kit, and I'll actually get to show you this. I was going to show you on the build for the gun emplacement, and now I've got a chance to actually show you this technique for real. So what I've done is I have grabbed this, which is a small shelf from a unit that we didn't need. It's actually a unit that's in Rosie's room, and we didn't need all the shelves, so I stole the spare ones. And what you do, very, very simply, is you clamp your base to that. So you get yourself something which isn't going to warp, and then you clamp the material that you're worried might warp to said base, like so. Using clamps are all the same so that you end up with a nice solid base, because this will now stay clamped until I've finished. And then when I've finished, I will be able to cut the bit that I want out, and it will not be warped at all, and all the drying will have done, and therefore we'll be happy. So I'm going to let this go to dry now. The next step will be painting. After that, I'll put a base around it. So I'll put a little ridge around it, which and maybe extend it a bit so that it can smooth into the surrounding area. And then it's done. It's not a very complicated process, I don't think. The painting is going to be the fun part. I'm going to now do some research on how best to paint ice on red. I think I'm going to need to do a very good primer. Something just arrived which I want to unbox, and I thought, you know what, I'll run the camera because why not? So this is a Kickstarter that was run very, very excellently and delivered early, which is very, very unusual, and it was done by Charlie Foxtrot Models, and it's for a windmill, that's the word. And I ordered two. I got both. I got two of them, so I can put them on my table. I can have two on the table. It's going to be ideal for Blood and Plunder, but also for many other types of games. So let's have a look and see. I've not done anything other than just open the box, so this is literally me unboxing it. So you've got a roof there which has a front, that's where the turbine goes, or the what's it that goes, that will have the wind sails on it. Sorry, I'm losing my words a little bit, apologies. So let's keep digging in and see what else we've got. Okay, so very simple but very effective. This is the body, so I'll be looking at, when I put that together, I'll be needing to texture that quite a lot, but that's fine. There we are, Charlie Foxtrot. Very impressed with how this Kickstarter was run, it really was very good. So that's my second body. And And that's my second roof. Really well packed. No problems at all with that. And then we have two sets. We've got the basic set here, and we've got the advanced set. Now the difference is that we're getting some 3D or some resin parts here, so sacks of grain and various other bits and pieces that can be used to decorate the scenic base, which is also included. So there we are, lots of parts. Please visit the website product page for instructions and tutorial. So I will be doing that. So that's what comes in the box. Like I say, very, very cool to receive this so quickly. A marked difference to other Kickstarters that I've been involved in and I'm still waiting for. They're not all terrible, but a lot of them do ship very late. This one has arrived early, so big thumbs up to Charlie Foxtrot for getting that done, and for Colin specifically for being so efficient, and his communication was so good. So there we are. Another little project to add on the back burner, which I will get to at some point. I'll probably just pack it up now, leave it in the box so it stays safe, label it up, and then when I come to work a little bit more on some Blood and Plunder terrain, once I finish painting the miniatures, then I will come to this then. So it probably won't be this year, but very, very cool to have received that. Another thing arrived today. Actually, this arrived twice. I only ordered this once, but I was sent 2 boxes by mistake, I think. So I have got in touch with Andrew, who runs the store, and I'm hoping to hear whether I can pay for the second or send them back. Either way, I'm not very comfortable taking 2 items from a small supplier. These came from a company called Antediluvian Miniatures, which is a small company. I believe it's only the one guy, Andrew, who runs it, and they have some fantastically fun and interesting sculpts. And this one I saw, I can't remember on what Facebook group I saw it, but someone had painted them up and I immediately wanted them. I went to the shop, it was sold out, and he said, I'll let you know when they come back in stock. And you know what, he only went and did. He remembered and he emailed me as soon as they were in stock, so I placed the order. And these are miniatures from Princess Bride, which is one of my favourite films. And so let's have a quick look at what they are inside the bag. So there we are. It is inconceivable. I think that word does not mean what you think it means. I love that film, I really do. Need to watch it again. So now I have Andre the Giant in miniature form, yeah, I'm pretty pleased with those. They're very nice sculpts. I literally haven't opened that plastic bag until I'm filming, so I'm looking at these in detail for the first time as well. Let me get a little bit better of a zoom in on them. There we are. A little bit of clean up, just a couple of little bits of flash here and here and here and here. A little bit of mould line, but not very much at all. That is a very, very clean looking sculpt and cast. I'm very, very pleased to have Andre the Giant. Rest in peace. There we are. So that is something which I wasn't planning on getting, but when I saw it I knew I had to try to get hold of them, and I'm very pleased I did. They will go into the backlog, they will be painted at some point. I may very well do a little diorama around them. I did get them initially thinking that I might use them in Blood and Plunder as well. They are pirates after all. Well, this is the Dread Pirate Roberts, obviously, as you can see. So yeah, Dread Pirate Roberts, Inigo Montoya, and there is Andre. So yes, they are pirates. So that was my initial thought. I might end up doing that, but I'll probably also do a display board for them so that they can sit on the and be admired, and not just be used in games and then put away and hidden. This is now really nicely stuck. And what I did do, which I didn't film because it was just a very quick sudden thought, is I lifted the air dry clay and got my scourer, so it's actually a wire brush, and I scored up, as you can see, the entirety of the area and all around it, which just meant that this, which is quite a shiny base, had a little bit of tooth, and therefore it was able to take a bit better. So that's all I did, and it dried nice and it's solid. So what I'm going to do now is paint the whole thing white, and I think this is going to take a couple of coats, and I've just noticed that the brush I'm using is one that didn't wash properly. We're having a lot of trouble with water here at the moment, and it's been real pain to try and keep my brushes clean when you don't have any water. So there's this first coat isn't going to be great, but I'll probably do 2 or 3 coats of white just to put down the base, and then I'll start to come in with some washes of blues and what have you to make it look like ice. So yeah, I'll do that. I'll do a couple of coats. I'll let you know how many it takes, and then when it's done I will bring you along for the next colours, but it doesn't take long, as you can see. Just a nice basic coat. This is just with the cheap house paint. Cool, let that dry, come back maybe 2 or 3 coats I reckon, and then we'll be ready for the next colours. Scatter terrain piece number 5 is going to be a haystack. Now I'm going to just make one because I want to have a bit of a play around. Yeah, I'm going to follow the instructions in the book pretty much to the letter for this one because I think it sounds like a really cool idea. So what they suggest is to use the top of a spray can. Now I go through quite a lot of rattle cans, or as I used to. I use them far less now, but I've got these and I've got other pots that I could use to make different size ones, which I might do. So this is just an old spray can, as you can see, and what I've done is I've taken some of the black foam and made it into a base and beveled it. Now what it says to do is use hot glue to glue it down. Now I'm not a big fan of hot glue, but it does work. So we will run a bead of hot glue around the base of this and get that glued in place. Now the good thing with it, if you don't stick your hot glue tripod in it, which I just did, which was a bit silly, wasn't it? The good thing with hot glue is it goes off immediately. So there's no faffing, there's no worrying around, there's no drying time, it's just done. Turn the hot glue gun off. So the next step, it says, is to stick some blue foam onto the top. Put the hot glue gun back on. So that you get a domed appearance. Now I've just realised I didn't do that, so I'm going to quickly grab some blue foam and I will get that shaped and I'll bring you back when I've shaped it. So there you are. A blue dome of blue foam. So the next thing it says is to paint them with a light brown coffee colour. So, sorry, no. Start that again. Cut. So there you are. I've stuck some foam on the top in a dome pattern, so that should be good. So what it then says is you need to cover them all over with tile grout to get rid of the uniform shape. Now, I've left this pot in the fridge for a few days since I used it, and as you can see, it is still good. I did put a cleaning film over the top, and I did add a little bit of water, and that is still usable, definitely for what I'm doing here. So I'm going to use a palette knife to smear this all over. Now it says to then paint it with a pale coffee, which I will do, but this being brown will also just help with that. So I'm going to paint that all over everything, I'm going to use the tile grout, the palette knife, sorry, to put that everywhere, including over the base, and that will then give us that nice kind of uneven look that we're looking for. So I'll get that done, basically like this, and when it's dry and I come to the next step, I'll bring you back for that. Nice and quick this. I may or I may not regret this. However, this is how I'm going to do it. I've been thinking about this quite a lot, and I've decided on a descending step. So the first one, the youngest, the sports day, is going to be the full 10 centimetres. Then we're going to drop 2.5 centimetres down for the ceremony. Then we're going to drop 5 centimetres for the war, and then for the burial scene it'll be down to the bottom, and it'll only be 2.5 centimetres high. So when it's arranged in the square, it will be a step down to there, and then a step down to there, and then finally a step down to there. So the distance from here down to war, from where you start in your sports day, you go down to the burial, is 7.5 centimetres. It's 3/4 of the entire height, and it drops. And then when it's placed out like it will be when it's on permanent display, it will look like that. So you'll have the step down, and it'll be a really nice little concept. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm about to crack out the cutter again, cut along these lines, and then I'm going to try and make a start, like I've said, on burial and on war, and I'm going to leave these two until I get my miniatures. I believe that they've been shipped. They may even be on their way over on a truck now, fingers crossed they get here soon. But yeah, I'm pretty tight. I'm a bit nervous actually that I'm not going to have them, but I'm just going to get stuck in on these two squares, and that I'll bring you along when I get to the next thing on them. But for now it's just going to be trim it down and then maybe draw and start to work out how I'm going to fit my tea lights, because I have a couple and I want to have at least one, and I'm going to need to bury it, so I'm going to dig out and seat it in. And the problem is that these ones are ones that you turn on by the bottom. I'm not sure whether I might tear it apart and try to be a bit clever, but trying to be clever is probably beyond me. So I probably need to go from the bottom, and so how I do that I don't know, so I'm going to work that out. Anyway, that's conjecture and chatter. Let's get stuck into the actual making. I got a little bit ahead of myself, so I've jumped ahead and there's a few things that I didn't film. So first of all, I took apart one of these little tea lights and I can't get it to work. So Miller for Miller's Marvellous Miniverse, which is a fantastic channel that you should go and check out, and I will try to remember to put a link above and now so you can go to it quickly and easily. He does all sorts of magic with these tea lights and takes them apart and they work, but that one seems to have broken. So I've given up, and what I've done is I got my wand, my hotbar wand, and I basically carved through the where I want it to, not all that great as you can see, and then what I've done is I've put a cross of cocktail sticks, which means that can sit on top of those. What I'm now about to do is to fill that in, probably with modelling compound, I think, because I think the next step I'm going to do is start to actually sculpt in. This will now go downstairs and we'll have the explosion treatment. If you've watched my video on making the exploding tank, then you'll see how I do that, and I will try to remember to either put a link to the video or I'll film how I do it, but it's spray cans and foam, basically hollow fill from an old pillow. The dots here are going to be a barbed wire fence, probably a rolled barbed wire fence rather than actually having any uprights, but that's where the barbed wire fence is going to go. This is going to be another crater, and this is going to be a dead tree, and there might be like a blasted tree, and there might be some other elements on there as well, but that's the basics. So what I think I'm going to do is mix up some modelling compound, fill that hole. I will probably get my hot torch and do the do this crater, that's the word, and then I will do the whole thing with modelling compound. On the outside I'm going to paint it with grout, black grout and PVA, and just so that that's a little bit tougher and so it's not too thick, because I don't want to be over 10 by 10 for each one. So yeah, so I'll bring you along for those steps. Next up will be doing using the hot gun to actually melt away for where this crater is going to go. So I'll bring you back in a second for that, and then we'll get on with some modelling compound. Be very cautious with this technique. So I've got a little gas flamer. This is what I use for debubbling my resin. I've got good ventilation, doors open, windows open, and what I'm going to do is spark it up and just drop it in and out very quickly, and not leave it there for too long, because this is not a very nice thing to do. So you can see how quickly that goes, and you can see how easy it is for it to get away, because I actually went over where I was going to have the tree, so I might put the tree at the front now. But that's a good deep crater which I can put rocks and gravel in and all that and make it look really messy. So now I'm going to mix up some modelling compound, and I'll bring you along for when I come to actually put it in the bottom there to fill that up, and then we will do the contouring on the top as well. So give me a few minutes or a second in your time, I'll be back. We have our mix, so what we'll do is we'll pack it in the bottom there first. Hopefully this will work. What I will need to do is make sure that it doesn't go too far through my little lattice. So I've not really created a lattice, I've more just put a couple of cocktail sticks in there. And what I probably will end up doing is actually just doing this and letting this dry, and then I'll go back to the rest of it when I'm happy with this, because as you can see, this was also cut just a little bit too close to the corner, so it's not all that stable as it stands. So I'm really going to want to let this dry, which will happen overnight, and then come in the morning and finish. So I only mixed up a very, very small amount of the modelling compound, and it looks like I've pretty much nailed the quantity. So I'll just go in now, smooth that over inside, like so. And that will now give me a little bit more comfort that the whole thing's not going to fall apart. Because as I say, I just did this a little bit too close to the edge, and I managed to actually crumble the sides a little bit. But that will now be okay. I may want to clamp that because it's gaping a little bit, as you can see. So anyway, I'm just going to do that. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to rush. I've got a little bit of time on this still. It's nice to have done a bit of a progress. A lot of people doing lots of progress on this challenge already, and I was still at the white foam stage. So yes, I'll leave that to go off, and then come back to it tomorrow and finish off this bit of scenicking, which I'm just doing despite saying I'm not going to, but just using up the rest of the compound. So there we are. That's cool. Bit of progress. Happy with that. The haystack dried nicely. It's cracked a little bit, but that's not going to be a problem because we're about to cover it. So the next step is to use coconut coir, which you can see here. Now he says that he cut up a coir doormat into thin strips with a sharp knife, and then used an old pair of scissors to cut and collect all the offcuts from the mat. The next task was to paint the haystack domes lids with white PVA glue and cover them with the offcuts from the doormat. Now I happen to have a big roll of coir that I ordered, which was massively cheaper than trying to buy it in small, and I've had it for years, and it'll probably run out eventually, but certainly not anytime soon. So I have lots and lots of coir, which is really, really cool. So I use this for making trees as well. So what I'll be doing is I will just be literally tearing off sections like this, getting my PVA, and it's just painted on. And I might do this over a slower period, so I might do half and then half, just so that I've got something to hold on to, because it is a bit of a pain trying to do this without having anywhere to hold on to. But yeah, so we'll paint some PVA on. I've put a bit on the base, but I really shouldn't have done, because I should really be not be putting excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat, not putting too much hay around the base. But anyway, there we are. So we'll put a bit of PVA around it, then we'll take our coconut coir and we'll stick it on, literally just like that. So get rid of any lumps or anything that's too big. Now what you might end up finding that you do is coming back in and putting more glue on once it's dried, because this might peel off, I think. So we'll find that out. I'm not totally sure about this technique. However, I am following the book and I'm happy to give it a go. But I would have said that you're going to need to douse this in PVA again, otherwise it'll all fall off. However, once it's on, I think it will look quite good. It's a bit messy at the moment. You might also want to trim some of the coconut coir once you've got it dried on. So we're going to come in here and we're going to mat it on, and like I say, I'm going to potentially leave the back, do this maybe in a couple of applications, because yeah, it's a bit messy at this. I think that's far enough for now. I feel like if I play any more with that, I'll damage it or make it worse. So I'll let that dry overnight, come back, do the same thing again, put some more coconut on, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. But I think if you build this up in layers, that's going to be a more effective way to do it, and it'll be more hard wearing as well. I've been umming and ahhing a little bit about the next step on this. I obviously need to continue with the painting, but after some thought, I've decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the bank around the edge of this pond, which is only going to be very low. I don't want this to be a massively high profile thing. And I'm going to use Luke's modelling compound to build this bank. So I'm just mixing it up now, as you can see, just off camera. Now what I'll do is I will just put a very low bank around the outside of the ice area. And that means that I can then paint and what have you, mask off what I need to do. All of the physical elements will be there, and I won't have to worry about potentially getting a beautiful ice effect, which I'm still not totally sure how to do, and then screw it up by dropping some compound in all over the place. So what I'll be doing is I'll be coming in like this and making a low bank around, sorry, got a bit of a frog in my throat this morning. Just doing this very quickly before work, so that it can go off while I'm working. But yeah, just sculpt a very, very shallow bank around the outside of this, just to give a little bit of elevation. I know a lot of people complain about rivers that aren't flat on the battlefield, and I do understand that, but also you do find that quite a lot of the time, whether by natural or by human interaction, there is actually a small bank around things. Maybe because to prevent flooding or whatever, the humans have come along and built the bank up. So having a very small rise around the outside of a water is actually prototypical, to use a model railroader's term. I don't think it should be massively high unless you're doing a dam. But there's nothing to say this isn't a human, isn't a man-made. Anyway, stop muttering, get this done, and then when this has gone off, then we can start to paint and scenic the rest of this little scatter terrain piece. I'm just working on my winterized terrain, and I've got a little bit of leftover modelling compound, and I hate waste, so I'm just going to make use of it now, just to kind of continue the diorama for war on this build. So just to so as not to waste. There we are. I just had the perfect amount then. I did my waking up early thing. This is Saturday morning, and so rather than I did try and sleep, but rather than waste time, I got up and I've put a load more colour onto the next two units of my Native Americans. So the warrior archers, which is here, and then at the back we have the warrior musketeers. I've still got the Native American leader there that I've not really put anything on because I'm trying to work out a different colour scheme for him. However, I've been good at that. It's been a couple of hours painting, and they're making progress. I'm not making as fast progress as I did on the first batch, not sure why, but I'm enjoying it, I'm taking it easy. And I was able to watch some videos as well with the TV I've got in here now. So I was able to watch some YouTube while I was painting, which was really nice. So yeah, bit of painting done, and now time to start the rest of the day. I've had an order come through from Sarissa, and there's another on the way which only has the terrain tile system, but I'm pretty excited about this. Going in level of excitement from left to right. First of all, I picked up another boat just because I enjoyed the Roman one so much. I thought I'd do the medieval cog, so that will be appearing on the channel at some point relatively soon. I've also picked up 3 different ones for Blood and Plunder. So the church, and a jail, and a house with stairs. So I will be making some stuff there out of scratch, but I also really like the look of those, so I picked them up. Finally, and most excitingly, and also cool because it's nearly Christmas, is this, which is the armoured stagecoach war wagon. Now, this will be on the channel at some point as well very soon, or maybe not very soon, but hopefully soon. Last year Angela bought me War Wagon, the film on DVD for Christmas, which is great fun. It's a silly film, but it's a really fun film. And then literally like days after I'd watched the film, I received a order from Sarissa and saw War Wagon on the calendar or the advert that it sent with it, which was good advertising. Well done, Sarissa, because I have been wanting this for ages and ages, and I've just pulled the trigger and received it. Now I've ordered in and already got all of the horses that I want for it, and I have quite a quite a good diorama idea for this particular model, and that will be being done. So yeah, I'm very, very excited, mainly because obviously really loved the present that was given to me, and I just loved the film. It was great fun, and to be able to do a diorama from the film is really cool. So this is some stuff which has arrived, which you'll see coming through the channel at some point, and I'll do proper unboxings specifically when I'm doing the make. So this is just a look at what I received. Woo! I do love my Sarissa stuff. I really like making their kits, and I'm looking forward to getting stuck into all of these. So there you are, the week's done. I'll wrap that up just by saying that the Stuka is still ongoing. I have made some small progress on it, but I just haven't filmed it because it's been priming things and boring stuff like that, which you don't want to see. But it is ongoing. So I hope you've enjoyed that video. I've certainly enjoyed reviewing the week while I've been editing it. It's always nice to see what you've achieved. And yeah, I feel like I've done quite a lot, despite feeling like I didn't do quite a lot before I started editing, which is what happens all the time. Anyway, I'll wrap up by saying, as always, thank you so much for watching, and please stay healthy, stay safe, and stay well.